You're a big fan of London, right?
It's my favorite city to hang out in, to visit. Yeah.
I think it's better than New York in a lot of ways.
Do you like the social kind of dimension like this one things I like about it? I like going to the pub. I like talking to English people. I like talking to cabbies.
Oh, they're my spirit animals. I like them. I feel culturally
They're a little cranky.
British.
They're funny.
Yeah, that's me.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to be. Welcome to People vs. Algorithms. I'm Brian Marcy. Each week I'm joined by Troy Young and Alex Schleifer. Alex is joining us a little later, right? Because we're doing this. Thank you for doing this a little bit early. I'm in London. I've been here all week. I've noticed it's little things. They have trees. They have parks. It's clean in most areas.
It's very beautiful. It's a beautiful city.
There were no homeless people sleeping in the subway station or on the streets outside of my hotel, at least, unlike home in Manhattan. There's a lot to say about London. And then I go and I compare it to, all the doom and gloom economic figures that come out of Europe these days because the United States is decoupled from most European countries. But it's one of those things where it doesn't really show up. Like when you go to visit these places, you're like, I don't know, the food's better. Like the lifestyle seems better. People seem a lot more chill. And I don't know, there's always this disconnect. It reminds me of how for a generation I've been reading about what a failure Japan is. And then I go to visit, like, it's pretty awesome. But those are the days we live in. I mean, if the weather's horrific here. So I would never live here in a million years because of that alone. So don't worry.
There are moments of glory, but they're intermittent.
It's funny because when I have conversations with publishers here, because we have a lot of the publishing industry, it is a lot of like this doom and gloom stuff because they keep getting hit with different things. And it's like a lot of this woe is me. And I'm usually talking with American publishers, right? And then you come to like a market like this that is so much smaller than the US market. And like people here are like, honestly, US publishers should be really thankful that just by like accident, they happen to be in this massive market. I mean, just test budgets. Someone was telling me last night, they were like, yeah, if we had a test budget here, it'll be like £25,000. And then all like US colleagues like, yeah, I don't know, they can only do a test for like $750,000. I don't think Americans in general recognize the amazing sort of unearned privilege of just being in this market.
It's the global scale market. The other thing is that because of that, I think the UK British market is and has always been very transactional. There are the rewards of a pint or a dinner and notorious, kind of media spending on lavish dinners and stuff with media buyers. But the media buying process in England is way more sort of churn and burn, just like get the IOs, get them done, like small numbers of people processing lots of orders. And the other thing is the comparative market, like Money Supermarket, which is like the affiliate business in the UK it doesn't really exist in the US. It's way more sophisticated there. So they actually have a really, really robust sort of services affiliate market with, a small number of players that do kind of the comparative stuff that, the equivalent of an Expedia, this Money Supermarket that compares everything from cellular phone plans to, mortgages and credit cards. So there's parts of that market that are very sophisticated. I find that there's less of the sort of, we'll do, an event and create a bunch of content and, these sort of sophisticated brandy, multidimensional US, insertion orders that get you to your 500,000 or billion or $2 million level. And it's just like, what are we going to do? How do we, I want to buy some media. So it's a very transactional place on the media side. And then the kind of media market on the newspaper side is brutally competitive and far harsher than the American.
Yeah. I think that is why US news organizations are bringing in the Brits. They're more feral. They're used to doing more with less. I mean, I always hear people here like they're just I guess they would say they're gobsmacked, or Michael Wolff would say that, at the size of teams still in the US. It's a function of a massive market, but it just shows that, when you're going into more with less, I think people are used to it a lot more here. But one of the things that keeps coming up here, but also when I was back in New York, is around the future of search. And we've seen, this is a recurring theme here, but I don't think it's one we can actually underemphasize, because search is so critical to this industry, and it is going through a lot of profound changes. How would you frame, because I ask publishing executives at these somewhat lavish dinners that I like to have. I don't know when to call them lavish, but they're semi-lavish. I ask them for like topics ahead of time. And then, I run it through like Claude or something for like key themes. And it's always AI and search is always the number one, whether it's, UK or last week in New York. Everyone is concerned about the future of search. They're already feeling it. Google's less reliable than ever. And this week, Google confirmed one of its, big changes is really how it's treating affiliate content, because it is now really coming out. I mean, it was taking some manual actions, but it's saying you can't outsource this stuff. I was talking to a publisher last night who, going back to the same thing, it's like, wait a second, newspapers were always including coupons within their bundle and third-party content, to which my response was, well, they kind of controlled the distribution. And when you're not controlling the distribution, you're not really in control. And, that is a simple fact of life, it feels like, for publishers these days.
I guess at the highest level, it feels like we're between eras, doesn't it? And between, when I say eras, I guess they're distribution eras, or sort of almost from a consumer perspective, the way we, navigate access and kind of control the content experiences we have. And I think that when you're between eras, and every era, it would seem to me, is kind of defined by a central force, be it a company or a constellation of companies manifesting a kind of navigational mechanism. Like, so, TV had the program guide, and it was relationships between the cable companies and the cable networks. And there was a kind of stability to that relationship, and the relationship with the customer. And the radio era had the same, and the newspaper era had kind of local monopolies and the stability that came along with that. And like it or not, there's a sort of a bunch, I think, today, of nation states that are controlled by, the people that own that distribution point and that technology and set the rules. And, Facebook sets the rules in all of their, little fiefdoms or kingdoms, and TikTok does the same. And, everybody that owns, a large technology driven kind of community or distribution system sets the rules. Google sets the rules largely for the open web. And now they are, being attacked from multiple kind of vantage points. They're being attacked by the government. They're being attacked by as antitrust accusations. They're being attacked by, publishers for changes to their, reliable distribution. They're being attacked by consumers because people think that the search results have become filled with ads and unreliable. So, and they're being attacked by competitors. So anybody that's avid or has kind of worked ChatGPT or Perplexity or Claude into their kind of information routine or diet knows that this is going to change pretty quickly. So I feel like the Justice Department outlining that they should either, pushing the judge to either force Google to sell Chrome, sell Android, or force Google not to have the dominant search position on Android, and to refrain from paying for positions in Apple and others for Safari and search. Or I think actually most profoundly give others the search index data, right? To give them the ability to run the Google search feed. And that's the one that I'm kind of most interested in, to be honest, because...
Explain that, because like I assumed that it would be, I am not a lawyer at all. I assumed that it would be a behavioral sort of ruling, that they would say, okay, well, you can't buy distribution the way you bought it from Apple. And that would be well, that's clean. But it seems very clear that the government is going after a structural They think this is structural. And I can see that because,
Yeah, I mean, my biggest criticism of this, Brian, is that they're way behind because
it's the government. They're always going to be.
No, but like Google's hegemony is being eroded without the government. Is my point.
This is Microsoft 2.0. And Microsoft's hegemony was.
Don't think of Chrome as being a browser. Think of Chrome as being Google's homepage. All Chrome did is push the search process up into your nav bar on Chrome, as opposed to using, google.com as a place that you go.
Sure.
No one goes to google.com anymore. You just type it into the browser window. So it is effectively an appendage of Google. It is the Google homepage. So if you take away the Google homepage, remember Chrome has 67% of the browser market. I mean, that is pretty fundamental. Not only that, but it opens up questions as to who's going to pay for Chrome moving forward. Like, would Google then have a business? Would they be prevented from having a business relationship to buy search traffic from whomever is the next owner of Chrome? So I think that's kind of not the right move. And I also think we should remind everyone that monopolies or quasi-monopolies sometimes create a lot of stuff that is of benefit to the world, right? Like, we get a lot out of this system, just like AT&T's monopoly created Bell Labs, created, Silicon, Unix, a lot of the foundational technologies that define our world today.
Yeah. Well, we might be getting self-driving cars thanks to all those search ad clicks. Thank you, everyone out there for
Waymo. Yeah, 100%. So if you looked at this and said, we want more innovation in how we find information and how we support the media market, in how the spoils of advertising are split among all of the constituents of the ecosystem, you might say, let other people have the data and the search feed so that they can run, there's clear network effects in understanding how consumers are using the internet and manifesting that in better search results and better performing ad placements. And if you were to open up that search feed to other competitors, someone like Perplexity or ChatGPT, like if you use ChatGPT today, and the most compelling use case is when you're looking for contemporary information and it connects, the LLM to the web index, and you get a result back that's current, right? If people had access to Google's search feed, they could make extraordinary products without being Google. Like, the consumers would get really crazy stuff.
Yeah, and I think that, I don't know how you feel about this. When Alex gets here, it can go off. But like, it would be most ideal if like innovation solved this quote unquote problem, right? Rather than the government. I don't know about the government choosing, to how markets should be shaped. It's clear to me, at least, that this market is probably not ideal from an economic perspective. I mean, I was sitting next to a publisher last night who was lamenting, basically how Google can destroy entire websites, and not even like small websites. They can destroy the biggest.
They can literally take you off the map. You do not exist to the world. One manual action.
Yeah, that's true.
Google.
They have true cancel culture power. Like, they can cancel
take you off the map, destroy your business. I mean,
and
they've done it several times.
Well,
Price Grabber.
Grabber, nice. I like that. I used to cover for Price Grabber. DM News. Speaking of Price Grabber, this actually came up last night. Do you know prorata.ai? Bill Gross' new...
Bill Gross's thing that's going to try to cut more reasonable deals with the media market.
So they're cozy. Their angle is they're cutting deals. They cut a deal with a bunch of UK publishers, and the Daily Mail's parent company took a stake in ProRata, and apparently they're coming out, I was told, in like February. I didn't fact check that. And I think it's interesting. I mean, Bill Gross is sometimes forgotten. He is the godfather of paid search at GoTo and then Overture, and Google, quote unquote, borrowed it for themselves and perfected it. But I don't know. I think if the market could solve this, that would be the ideal. Like, I just don't know if structurally, like you said, that's what makes it pretty interesting, this idea of giving people access to the index, because the market has failed to innovate on this on this model at all. Like there's never been anyone when Microsoft can barely make a dent, it's a sign that this market's really difficult to have be competitive. Alex is here.
I am. Hey,
Are you in a sauna?
I'm in San Francisco.
Ah, same.
Yeah, so you're in a sauna.
I'll let you finish. It sounded like you were talking about interesting stuff.
Well, we're talking about Chrome. We're not talking about politics yet. We were going to wait for you to come for Elon Hour.
Let's carry on this point and then Alex can interject. Okay. So first of all, my concern would be that dicing up Google at the level of like cutting out Chrome would make for a shittier world for consumers. And that what I would hope for is a way to unlock their data to create more innovation, to create better products for consumers. And that the innovation cycle is sort of solving this problem for the DOJ anyway. But, just to bring it to some examples, you're seeing it right now. Along the way, many publishers are going to get hurt. The context of this is, let's face it, depending on the publishing category you're in, affiliate revenue, which is, just to remind folks, is essentially writing about products, whether that's an extension of your lifestyle coverage or actually as a kind of consumer reports like function, has created a world of performance marketing that the buy side, that marketers really like, because they pay for leads, they pay for business, they pay for results. So it's worked really well. And out of all of the bullshit advertising solutions that sadly the internet has spawned that have not worked, that literally people have traded in for 20 years, banners, stupid content marketing, stuff that I would say has been kind of, the best thing to come out of the sort of banner industrial complex was like retargeting via Criteo, of all that stuff, affiliate is actually a trackable, performance-oriented product. And then like anything, everybody rushes a show and you get, too many people making the same content, optimizing for things that are, financial and not the well-being or, needs of a consumer. Having said all that, 20 to 40% of people's revenue, 20 to 40%. Now, if Google's intent on wiping out that layer and bringing it to the search interface, and or new players are, and I don't know if you've seen Perplexity's new product cards with Perplexity Pro.
Wait, Perplexity Pro, that one? Yeah.
Yes. But what I could do is I could say, I saw a query, which we'll share in the notes, was around what are the best Patagonia ski. Should I buy this sort of entry-level Patagonia ski pant, or should I spend more and buy, the Gore-Tex more expensive version? And then basically the LLM breaks down the query into a multi-step set of questions, goes out, explains to the consumers the trade-off between product A and product B. By the way, all of that content has been kind of created by the blood, sweat, and tears of the affiliate, industrial complex that publishers have kind of sweated away to make money at. And then it lists the products in a card with the kind of pros and cons and lists them all out. And then you can query it, 9 more ways to Sunday to get all of your questions answered. And Perplexity is going to start bringing those sort of an agentic function to this to allow you to buy the product right from there, which I actually think is the least important of this whole thing. Like you can go out and buy it from, Mountain Equipment Co-op or from Patagonia.com or wherever you buy your stuff. I don't think that's that hard for consumers anymore. But the organization presentation of that information is a stunning advancement in how you get information about a product. Stunning.
But isn't this, I guess it's like the two things can be true at once. One, this is terrible for publishers, but two, this is really great for consumers. It sounds better to me than wading through a bunch of like links from.
And now, direct from Sonoma, California, Alex Schleifer.
Serving you up.
Over to you, Alex.
I mean,
cut the publishers down
that's
to
the problem,
size.
right?
You know what he's going to say? He's going to say something super annoying like, I've been telling you guys this.
I'm not even doing that anymore.
The spaceship is in the stable.
Yeah, I mean, I think at this point you're all assimilated. No, I mean it's true. One has to wonder where the future of that content is coming from. And you're saying it's that a lot of that content is from the affiliates. I actually think a lot of that content is from Reddit and places like that. I think at some point, even that you're just getting for free. The product is much better for consumer.
No, you're very Mosconian in your point of view here, that you think that the consumer will provide the information to solve for what media cannot when there's no business model left.
I mean, a lot of these media businesses were essentially aggregation. If you look at it's especially product stuff, right? I mean, I love the Wirecutter. I think some of these products are great, but if you look at Amazon,
it's just so fucking liberal.
It's a liberal woke product.
There's like woke Dyson vacuum
woke
cleaner.
hair dryers.
But no, I mean, I think the dangerous thing here for all of these sites is that content is readily available. It's just it hasn't been accessible in a way that was compelling, because it's a nightmare to go through Amazon reviews. Reddit is kind of incomprehensible to a lot of people, but a lot of that source of knowledge is there, and it's just going to be reinforced by their own search queries. I mean, I think for me, when I look at Perplexity, it's not like, are people going to use this over Google? Is that going to be the winner? Or is OpenAI going to be the winner? I have this OpenAI resident program on my Mac, which you can press, on the Mac you can press Command Space and it opens a search bar, right? I've replaced that with something called Raycast, which already does a lot of AI stuff. But now I've also opened the open.
Hold on, wait, don't get
I didn't
too
know about
nerdy.
Command Space.
Anyway, it's a huge thing.
Alex, slow down, baby.
Okay.
What is Raycast? That sounds intriguing.
So when you press Command Space on a Mac, it's kind of like you're on a Windows PC. It's like pressing the Windows command, and it opens a search box, and that search box lets you launch application, find files, etc. Right?
It's true.
It's something that you can replace with an app called Raycast, and it adds more intelligence, more features. You can add your own shortcuts. Now, what came with the latest version of OpenAI on my Mac is that they say, well, if you press Option Space, which is the key next to it, it just opens up a little OpenAI like search window, right?
I got it. I got that.
Well,
Cool.
Once you have that, the user behavior that I have now
that's the new Chrome, Alex.
It's the new Chrome. And so all of that's going to happen through these types of interfaces, because I can
basically. So Alex, is it that the DOJ? Because we were talking about the DOJ's remedy about, hey, do you want to knife Chrome or do you want to knife Android? And if you don't do Chrome, then we're going to come after Android. And this structural solution thereafter. And this is always the case with the government. The government always fights the last word. They're always too late to the party. Is this like, what's that?
Nothing.
You hate the government?
Well, you're going to love the next one. I mean,
is this the case? Like, I mean, is the market actually already solving this problem? Like, I mean, it might take a little bit longer, but
the remedy seems like really, I'm usually pretty pro-regulation, and I think
you are European.
Well, I also think like big tech is it's kind of stifling a lot of stuff down here. But I don't understand. First of all, what does a Chrome company look like? Like, how can it make money? That's a terrible business. Well,
it needs a search deal.
It's a $20 billion valuation.
It needs a search deal, which is one of the things that they're trying to stop them doing with Apple, right? Like, if you don't want these types of things, like, legislate that you cannot have these types of search deals with Apple anymore.
Chrome is just Google's homepage, Alex. That's it. It doesn't make sense to force
consent decrees. I think governments are over consent decrees. These companies have so much money, they just pay the fines. Facebook did consent decrees in Europe, and there's like, whatever, we're just going to pay. No,
I'm not saying. That is absolutely true, but I'm saying the remedy of there's other remedies that aren't just like separate Chrome, right? I think because at this stage, like, there are different ways you could be improving the marketplace.
Let other people run the search feed, Alex, and you solve the problem.
Yes, or either way, it's kind of late now, because the new front has just opened up, right?
Well, that's what I mean. Is this new front like going to solve the problem where the government? This always gets tied up in courts, no matter what like comes down. It's not.
What's the
happen.
problem? To be clear, it's Google's market share.
Yeah, I think the problem is that this is a malformed market. It's not functioning like a competitive market. I don't think anyone would say it is. Now, whether it's a natural monopoly,
I just want to be clear about it. I'm not functioning in the sense that a consumer is not well served by Google or getting access to information or
that's
features
a good
or something.
Question. I mean, what
do you mean functioning?
The typical antitrust definition, I believe,
Google will tell you it's functioning great.
Yeah, it's consumer harm, right? And that Google will tell you that the alternative is one click away. They've been saying that for a generation. I think hipster antitrust would hold, and it's become more popular across the political spectrum, that when you don't have competition from other businesses, there's a lot of harm that comes downstream. Businesses can be harmed. Publishers can be harmed sometimes by Google's monopoly.
I mean, I think we're seeing it, right? We're seeing algorithm changes that, can kind of like totally destroy businesses overnight because, you're dealing with a duopoly on internet advertising. You're seeing these crazy deals with Apple that like don't allow any new players to come in. You're actually seeing the overall quality of the search results getting worse and worse. And you've seen an overall kind of destruction of like the internet as it turns into more of an SEO factory than anything useful. So I don't know how much of that has come into play here, but I don't think Google's product has made the internet better for people. And if anything, like it's stopped it's impossible to launch any type of.
Yeah, that's a pretty narrow way to look at it. I mean, I guess just search, but Gmail was a revelation, if you recall, and Google Docs.
But once again, Gmail was. I mean, Google was a revelation. Google Docs was a revelation. Google Docs hasn't been updated for iPhones in forever. Google Sheets is a miserable product to use on that. They don't.
I love the Google Sheets. I love Google Docs.
Gmail was
What's wrong with it?
Well, I mean, if you look at the work that they're doing, innovating on those products compared to the competition, they're not doing much. You can see that it's a company that's kind of like atrophying a little bit on the innovation front. And then Gmail was a great product. They launched, if you remember, with 1 gigabyte. But today, I think Gmail could be kind of, if people gave a shit about email, you cannot really have an email client that isn't a Gmail or an Outlook or one of these large ones, because spam has become such a problem. You really need to kind of get your email from one of the big providers to get it, filtered and whitelisted in a way. So all of these large companies have made the internet a little bit worse. But whatever the case, like at this stage, like pulling Chrome out of stuff is ridiculous. Like it just doesn't work. People are probably
so explain to me. I'm unclear why it quote unquote wouldn't work. You're just saying nothing would change, or it would change for the worse.
It's just like it's a way to cripple Google, but I think it's going to hurt the consumers more than anything, because what we might get to is an environment where we have like a misalignment of different browsers that work potentially differently, or I don't understand what the Chrome business looks like and what the Chrome products looks like when it has to start making its own money. Like at the very least right now, Chrome as a browser is incentivized to be a really great browser, so everybody uses the search, so it sends Google money, right? Once you don't have that, then you have to make a deal. And that's the types of deal that we don't want, right? We don't want these search deals on the dominant browser. Honestly, we don't want it for Firefox. We don't want it for Safari. We don't want it for anything. It's just going to put another player that has another deal there. I don't know. I don't think that's going to be great for anybody. At the very least, most people use Chrome, and the internet works pretty well on Chrome.
Maybe they'll just have like sticky video ads that follow you around.
Yeah, that would be great. Like a whole like lower third.
Yeah.
Troy and I could come up with something.
It's not a bad idea.
No.
Open up a lot of video.
It's not a bad idea. There was a browser that did that, by the way. When I moved to the UK, you could get free internet, and you needed to download their own browser. And the browser had a ticker of ad that like scrolled at the bottom at all times, which took me like 5 minutes to figure out.
What was it? All Advantage? What was that early internet? There was something like All Advantage that did something very similar. People try to do that with like PCs, like free PC.
Well, people are doing that with TVs now. You can get a free TV that has a whole second screen at the bottom that just shows ads.
Just to
It's called
broaden it
Telly.
a little bit, though.
Look it up.
Yeah.
Good product of the week early.
Yeah.
So every publisher that is scrambling to deal with the new economic realities of a world where Google is less reliable is going to say, we got to go direct, right? They're going to say, focus on emails, focus on, new forms of direct communication like, text messaging or WhatsApp distribution. The bold may say we need our own app strategy. Others will say we're going to invest more in YouTube or in podcasting. And the truth is, so everybody will scramble to get more of your attention, and it'll feel annoying and noisy. And I guess in that market, the best, the most differentiated, the most unique, trusted voices, individuals that you want to follow start to, emerge as a new kind of class of elite, information space characters. And then the media world only gets back to some normalcy when a distribution system emerges that is stable, that has rules, where it sort of not quite turns into an oligopoly, but something like it. In every generation of media, whether it was governed by the government's allocation of spectrum, or, in the case of radio and television, or like I said earlier, an ability to publish news content in a local market, or a relationship between cable providers and cable networks, or in the magazine world, large rate bases and a newsstand distribution system controlled by basically 4 companies. Something has to get back to something stable. For media to pay people, to have unions, to have any kind of, now it may just become, this boutique business that looks more like your local coffee shop where there's, small businesses and some break out. And so it's like a star system. But if it's ever going to be like an industry, there needs to be a new structure. And nobody knows what the answer is, because you can't see it in OpenAI. You can't see yet how media companies are going to manifest inside of this crazy smart interface in a way that pays people real money.
I would even go further. It seems antagonistic to that. I mean,
Sure.
Everything that comes out of these companies is that that's not really one of their concerns. Maybe for like PR, they'll cut some.
Yeah, and guys like Alex say, burn it all down. Who gives a fuck? The information will come from the cracks and crevices and little monsters all over the internet.
And crevices. That's a good brand.
And meanwhile, like his union buddies will be, sleeping on his sofa.
Make room on the ranch.
You're signing a lot of first of all, if you're waiting for the structure to appear, good luck. See you later. We'll see. We see when that comes up. But it's the playbook, man. I'm not. First of all, I think a lot of the.
Actually, your answer last week was just make good shit, and the algorithm will find you.
Well, but I think what happens is that these structures emerge, and then big media companies emerge, and they build some sort of dominance, which means they need to stop improving their product, and it turns out that the product that they end up with, like cable news or whatever like that, is pretty terrible.
Baby news.
Baby news, we just found out that Comcast is just offloading all these cable channels, right?
Yeah, they're like the toxic assets.
Yeah. I mean, this is
move them off the balance sheet.
This is the managed decline. Yeah. But just guys.
But I want to create a new podcast around that called Baby News.
We should. This is the tech playbook. When, Napster came out, Napster was the first iTunes. It just, you start, it's that don't ask for permission, ask for forgiveness, right? And then, Google did the same thing, right? They didn't really ask at first. YouTube did the same thing. YouTube became popular because it was pirating. And then they become the platform. And you know what? Every time on these platforms, maybe except for music, which was it has this really kind of solid structure, the platforms don't want organized large media companies with negotiation power to be on those things. They want the Brian Morrisseys. They want like a million
Yes.
Brian Morrisseys. They don't want 1,000
Not that many.
Comcast, because 1,000 Comcast are a pain in the ass. And
I'm very pliant.
Exactly.
Just cut the check.
Here you go. Advertise Perplexity. Like we'll shill for it. But that's the playbook. And so whatever structures come up, I think they're very rarely friendly to large organizations. And so that's something to look out for.
Sort of makes the tech world's embrace of Trump seem like it makes sense. True disruptor. Who knows what's going to happen?
I mean,
so one of the things that came up.
I mean, when you have landed in New Zealand in a private jet, then things are.
It's true.
Yeah,
you're playing with house money at that point. One of the things that came up at the New Growth Agenda was from one of the publishing executives, big publisher, right? It was basically just about the misaligned incentives and how you create any system that replaces with this current one with incentives to create like really good content. Because I think the internet has mostly, to me, been like kind of a failure when it comes to professional publishing, right? I mean, I think there's a lot of great amateur publishing, whatever you want to call it. You used to call it user-generated content. I don't think it's necessarily a healthier information ecosystem than what we had before. Like, it's hard for me to say that if you're thinking about it as like, are people overall more informed on that side? I don't think so. It doesn't seem like that really worked out. And the incentives were always, and publishers admit this, the incentives were always to create, crap. And then they're not set up by publishers. They're set up by Google and the people who are controlling the interface and who are upstream from them. And I always go back to the jump to recipe button. Like, that's what Google you created this, Google. All of that backstory that everyone has to do, you created this. Yeah. You created all the incentives and publishers chase the incentives, and then they get whacked for it.
Google ruined the internet. I mean, it's
like so this publisher is like, are we just going to go towards, AI demand media, basically?
My hope is that AI does push us towards less fluff, right? Because the SEO era led us to create content that was readable by machines, and humans needed to kind of like walk around all that mess, right, to try to get to the content. While AI is about recontextualizing, the AI product is really about putting content in front of people that they really want with as little as friction as possible. Now, there's a lot of issues with that, but I wonder how that changes the incentives, And instead, the incentives are no longer SEO.
Did either of you see the Ben Affleck semi-viral video?
Yeah, he spoke a lot of sense.
Yeah. What was I think some people were surprised, although I feel like Ben Affleck regularly pops up to remind you that like he's...
Well, I think Ben Affleck and Matt Damon are actually like both pretty savvy Hollywood people, right? They kind of rose up with their own...
He had a viral video that was great about why Hollywood doesn't create good movies anymore.
Yeah.
He just went by and on Hot Ones.
Yeah, on Hot Ones, yeah. I mean, I think he made some good points. I think the main points were that like AI is like having a craft person, right? Like it will replace a lot of kind of tasks, even quite creative one, that you would usually hire a lot of craft people for. And that I think was relevant, and it's gonna comfort things. I also think that AI is going to generate a lot of trash content, but thankfully, we'll also have AI to filter through it. So I don't know how that works.
I think it's important to not be too cynical here and say that while big algorithmic distribution systems can create perverse incentives or incentive misalignment so that people create spam at scale, the kind of open shelf, construct of the internet, meaning it's not controlled on, by a couple of companies on a timeline like broadcast television, has really allowed for remarkable delivery of content to niche interests, right? And so, one of the things, just a little thing I wanted to get off my chest is, in media, people can get really, like, they can make it too complicated in terms of trying to figure out, well, what is your content strategy, or how do you organize a media company? Well, the simple answer is you find a group of people that are not well served by from an information perspective, and you gather people that can serve that interest, and you do something better than someone else or differently than someone else with a format that makes it easier for you find someone who doesn't have what they need and you give it to them. And so, like, I was thinking about this, like the podcasting world, we had, talk radio forever, and your choices were really limited, and you listened to what you listened to in your market. And now we have infinite channels of talk radio. And if you're tired of listening to the sanctimonious Kara Swisher and Scott Galloway, you can tune into America This Week with Matt Taibbi and Walter Kern, right? And they are a different sort of substrate of expertise as a podcast. Like, there's just so many ways to get your needs satisfied. Similarly, if you can't stand baby news on CNN, like, go to X or go to wherever you go, Alex, go to Threads or go to YouTube, go to watch Channel 5 on YouTube. Oh my God. Right.
Mm-hmm.
This sort of like kid making gonzo programming with, an iPhone. So, while there have been instances where we've, spammed consumers through a choke point like Google, there's also like an infinite library for the interested. There's so much good stuff. Alex shoved this in my face. I could not believe that Jimmy Fallon had the Boom Boys on. The Costco guys that do that stupid TikTok thing. Yeah. We bring the boom. We bring the boom to you. Do you know about this, Brian?
Yeah.
No.
And it's like, I guess at best, it's an average family from Boca Raton that's kind of unattractive, and you watch it just because they're so ridiculous. And so there's this, this kind of hate watch thing going on. And then I don't understand it.
The kid is called the Rizzler.
The Rizzler. But then Alex said to me, okay, sure, the internet produces the Boom family from Boca Raton, but they also produce, whatever, Chapel Roan and, McGee and the elephant, whatever that elephant, what's it called?
Elephant Graveyard. But also these are like, but the point,
Channel
right? Like,
5.
I was too dismissive about the Costco guys. It is something that appeals to people, and they're bringing joy.
Do you like it?
No, but they're bringing joy to the world. It's probably going to end in tears, but that's neither here nor there. I expect tabloid headlines in 20 years if they still exist. The thing is, though, like, there it is, right? There's all this content, and you can go out and find it. And that's always been, but I think that's been the case since the beginning of the internet. The challenge now, I think, and the opportunity is that, how do you find it? Because the thing about cable and cable news is that you just turned it on and it gave you the thing you wanted. And it was like a thing. So what is the I just turn it on of the future? And I actually think that is, an AI. That is like algorithms that are becoming so good that you can find an audience. If there's 20,000 people, who love talking about webinars, Brian Morrissey will find them. Right?
Absolutely. Did you see that Axios has a $1,000 subscription just for 6 months, and what you get are 6 webinars?
We should do that. Would people pay?
It's great. It's with Jim Allen, with Mike Allen and Jim Van Dyke.
It's with people that are way smarter than us.
It doesn't matter, but still, that's setting the market price at $1,000 for 6 months. We'll do 12 months for $1,000.
Yeah, we'll do 12 months for $1,000. And you know what? We'll stop at 10,000. It's going to be a very exclusive club.
Until we get those subscriptions going, I have to go because I got to sing for my supper. Like,
so
literally.
Brian, could we wrap it up at least? Like, where? By the way, Jim did a great podcast. So yeah, here's a shout out. Right? Jim was on the podcast The Grill Room, which is
Dylan Byers. It's a rival podcast.
And I thought it's totally worth a listen if you haven't listened to that yet. And it's okay if it's a rival podcast, Brian.
No, I know. I'm good.
Kumbaya, man. Before you leave, sum it up for folks, and then we'll go into a quick good product, and then we'll.
There's no summation. Search is changing completely. And it's completely out of the control of publishers. And not even Alex has the answers, as far as I can tell.
No, but I think if you are in the business of friction, you're in trouble.
Yeah, and publishers, and a lot of times are in the business of friction. But at the same time, that's a lot of like large publishers. I find there's two different conversations I have. Like people who are on a smaller scale, who are in niches or in B2B, they're doing fine. Like it's not. This is SEO was never part of the toolkit. And yeah, there are challenges. It's like everything. There's a lot of competition, but this kind of existential stuff is really just one sector of a far larger market that's becoming even more decentralized. So
yeah, I know
it's unfortunate for the biggest players, but this is a better time to be pretty small.
Yeah, and I know it's a new topic and you want to go, but I wonder if the future media companies also aren't just eaten up by agents like talent agents. Because at the end of the day, maybe that's the only thing you need, right? That's the collection of people. You have a CAA that manages a bunch of people who do their own things. You have infrastructure around them, contract negotiation, etc. Like, there is no company that is a big group of musicians, but there are agents and production companies around that.
Great point. It's a great point. It's a great point. When you pull out all of the functions that were required to operationalize media, and you realize that it's just about supporting your most talented folks, it looks like a talent agency. Great.
Do we have a good product? Do we have a good product?
Yeah, we do have a good product, Brian. Take it easy.
Well, sorry, I got to get on the tube.
He's got to.
Well, yeah, well.
Central Line calls me.
The good product's about something I'll connect two things, and it's something I really like.
It might take a while, right?
The real
Can you
good
just
product.
connect one?
They're both, it's the substance, and the substance to me is chocolate milk. And
I thought you meant the movie. With
by the way, I got to
Demi Moore.
complain about these good products last week. I didn't tell you guys.
I did mean the movie, and I meant chocolate milk.
Okay.
What's the complaint? Do you want to register it before I?
No, there was a complaint. Well, one feedback was that they saw the podcast evolving into like you versus Alex with me caught in between, which I was like, I actually like that role for myself.
Yeah,
so
it's a Brian sandwich.
I don't think we fight
I'm
that
happy
night.
to go.
I think we antagonize each other a little bit. But
Yeah, no, I'm good with that.
Okay, so they made that.
The other was about
comment,
some of these good products are kind of bullshit. I'm not going to.
I mean, we know that's the whole point of good products.
But go on, tell me about chocolate milk.
Well, I bought a large bottle of chocolate milk and I drank it on the way home from the store.
Wow!
And I just could not believe how good it was. Like chocolate milk is literally the best thing ever.
Yeah, unless you're lactose intolerant like me.
Oh, it makes you poop?
That's one way to put it.
Anyway, I could not say more about how much I love chocolate milk.
Okay, great.
And I would encourage people, if you like chocolate milk, if you feel anything about chocolate milk, good, bad, or indifferent, please send Brian a note about it.
Please do.
But the other thing is, 2 nights ago, I watched The Substance, which is, I guess it's a 24 movie. It's not A24.
It's not?
A 2024 movie. No, it's
okay.
they call it a body horror movie, a satirical body horror film directed by a French director, Coralie Farge, and it stars Demi Moore, who's a kind of fading Hollywood star who resorts to using this weird black market serum, references to all those things we take now, including Ozempic, to create a younger version of herself. And then that younger version is played by Margaret Qualley. And they live these kind of connected lives. And then as Sue's success grows, there starts to emerge tension between the two of them.
Are you reading an IMDb?
No, I just made some notes to myself. There's this climax that is unbelievable. Have you seen either of you seen?
No, I haven't seen it. I want to watch it. I feel it gets pretty messy, right at the end.
Understatement.
Yeah.
All right, guys, I gotta go. Otherwise, I'm gonna.
Where are you going?
I'm going to the WordPress. I'm going to the WordPress VIP Innovation Showcase.
Whoa! All right.
I'm going to be speaking with Sofia Delgado, the audience director at Metro. It's like a free newspaper here. No, I'm not the host. I don't think I'm the host. I'm just,
Is this a
leading the
reboot? Is this a
conversation.
rebooting event?
It's a collab. It's a collab.
Can you shield the podcast a little bit? Can you?
Yeah.
By the
I'm
way,
gonna do it.
Alex, Brian and I, together with another person, are organizing a little festive gathering for.
I know. I asked whether I'm flying private or is it going to be business class? Because I need to.
I don't know. I don't know if that's in the budget. We'll have to look in the budget. How are we going to work that? I think we should like.
It's on the 12th, Brian. We got to get on it. We got to get on it today.
Yeah, we got to start
right.
advertising it.
Just send me a note with feedback if anyone wants to be, considered for it. It's a very limited, set of private residents. But if you use the subject line chocolate milk, I'll be sure to flag this.
That's it for this episode of People versus Algorithms, where each week we uncover patterns shaping media, culture, and technology. Big thanks, as always, to our producer, Vanya Arsenov. She always makes us a little clearer and more understandable, and we appreciate her very, very much. If you're enjoying these conversations, we'd love for you to leave us a review. It helps us get the word out and keeps our community growing. Remember, you can find People versus Algorithms on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, and now on YouTube. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you again next week. All right.
All right.
All right, I got to go.
See you guys.
All right, see you.
Bye.